Hi, Kalurah Hudson here of While They Play Designs. Today I'm just going to be showing you how to do the double crochet stitch. And on patterns you'll see this as a DC, and that's all that means is double crochet. So first of all, I'm going to show you a couple different ways to work your turning chain when you do a double crochet just in a flat piece of work, back and forth. But you're always going to start, for the height of your double crochet stitch, you're going to start with a chain 3. And in some patterns that might vary. You just want to go by what the pattern tells you, but it's usually the standard is chain 3 for the proper height. And after you chain 3, you'll turn your work like so. And the first way that you can do this when working flat is working not into the first stitch, because you have your chain 3. You're going to count that as your very first double crochet, and you're going to work into your second stitch in the row. So we're going to yarn over, work into our second stitch here, yarn over and draw a loop up. So you have 3 on your hook, just as we did with a half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2. And this is just how I kind of remind myself that this is a double crochet. We're yarning over and pulling through 2 loops on our hook twice. So that's why it's a double crochet. Plus it's twice as tall as a single crochet. So that's our first double crochet. We're going to go into the next stitch. So we yarned over our hook, go into the stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So that is our double crochet. And if you can see here, we didn't work into that first stitch because of our turning chain. Our turning chain is actually going to give us the height and also act as our first double crochet of the row. So that's one way of doing the turning chain. But I'm going to go ahead and work to the end here and show you how to finish off our row in double crochet. So we've worked to almost the end of our row. We have to finish this double crochet, and we have one more stitch. If you take a look, our previous double crochet from the previous round is right here, and then we have our turning chain. So what we'll want to do is yarn over and go through that last double crochet, yarn over and drop a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. But we're not going to stop here and keep going. If you can take a look at your work here, remember we had a turning chain. In some patterns it will tell you if you want to count this as a stitch or not. In this instance it is being counted as a stitch, so we're going to want to work into the top of the turning chain. And if you take a look, we've got chain 1, chain 2, and our chain 3 is kind of hiding out there between this stitch and our chain. But that is the top of our turning chain. So we will yarn over our hook and insert it into that chain. And when I do this, I actually go through 2 loops. That way you're pretty much simulating your other stitches. You're always working into 2 loops, so work into 2 loops of your chain as well. So we're going to go into that chain, yarn over and draw up a loop. Just as we did with our previous double crochets, we'll yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, and draw through 2. So if you take a look here, we work to the end and we have our last double crochet worked into our turning chain. So we're going to do that exact same thing on the way back. So we'll just chain 3, turn our work, and remember to skip that very first stitch of the row and go into the second stitch. And then when we get to the end of this row, we'll do just as I did previously, and we will work into the top of that chain 3. So that's one way to do the turning chain for double crochet. And I want to show you another way. In some patterns it will tell you at the beginning, they'll have a note somewhere, or it will say somewhere in the pattern that for the row, chain 3, double crochet in the next stitch. Whatever it says, it's always going to tell you if that chain 3 is supposed to be included as a stitch or not. So that should help you. If you don't see it and you're questioning your stitch count later, go ahead and drop a line to the pattern designer and just ask them what you're supposed to do. But this is the second way of doing it when you don't include it as a stitch. So we're going to chain 3, and we're going to turn our work. And all we're doing is working our double crochet into every stitch of the row. So our first stitch, we'll have a double crochet. Our second stitch, but I'm going to go ahead and work to the end here and show you how to finish off our row. Okay, so we've worked to almost the end of the row. We have our turning chain from our previous row, and we still have 2 double crochets. So when you don't include the turning chain as a stitch, when you don't count it as a stitch, you're just not going to work into it. You won't work into the top. So we have 2 stitches left, so we're going to do a double crochet in the second to last, and then 1 in the last stitch. So yarn over, draw up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So that's the end of our actual row. The difference between that way and doing it by counting your first double crochet as a stitch, if you take a look here, we've got a couple of noticeable holes in our work. And if you're already crocheting at a very loose tension and you're getting nice stretchy loopy stitches and those holes don't bother you, then that's fine. You can do it either way. You can do it by counting the chain 3 as a stitch or just ignoring it altogether and not counting it as a stitch. So those are 2 different ways of doing the double crochet.